to the AP Art History newscast. Today we're doing a special report on Mesoamerica. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Shay. And the areas that we will be talking about today are Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and Honduras.
Let's get started with your news. Our first stop on the special report news takes us from New Jersey all the way down to Mexico, specifically the Yucatan Peninsula in Chiapa de Corzo.
When talking about the Mayan culture, it's important to remember the dates 15,000 BCE to 1521 CE.
When discussing the Mayan cultures, in fact, all the cultures in Mesoamerica, there are certain hallmarks that you should look for, including calendars, pyramidal-shaped structures. Notice that the structures mimic mountains as for the sacred meaning. And finally, the use of the color green. Welcome back. I'm Rachel. Let's talk about the temples in the Mesoamerican cultures. Temples evolved very much so over the years. For example, many of them often had 9 levels and were single temples. However, as the years progressed, they developed into twin temples. Furthermore, they continued to progress into large acropoli and massive temples. Let's take a look at one example in the Mayan culture of several very important temples. This structure right here is Yaxchilan. It's an architectural complex that includes several famous structures, including structure 40, 23, and 33. This right here is structure 40. It is made of stone blocks and from the pre-classic period. Notice how it has 3 tiers, uses a post and lintel, and it has a rectangular shape. Also notice its symmetry in building up to it, and the pyramidal-like shape in the sense that there are many steps building to the front. The next structure that we are going to discuss is structure 33. This is also at Yaxchilan, the large architectural complex, part of the Mayan culture. Structure 33 is the largest temple at the site. It is set in the center of a large stairway. It is somewhat hidden behind a large mass of trees. Inside the temple, there is a famous stele with hieroglyphic interpretations of the temple itself. The base on the north side of the building contains carved stone reliefs depicting both shield jaguar and bird jaguar playing the ritual ball game. Note, these were 2 Mayan rulers. Finally, at Yaxchilan is this image of lintel 25. It is made of limestone, and it is one of 3 panels originally set above the doorway in structure 23. This building and the lintel is dedicated to Shield Jaguar's second wife. The series of lintels is intended to convey a special message of the refoundation of the site. Note at the bottom of the lintel, there's a picture of the hallucinatory stage of the bloodletting ritual. This ritual is one of the Mayan culture with the idea that fasting and the loss of blood will lead to visions and connection with ancestors. Before we go, there's one last thing that you should know about Yaxchilan. This is an ancient Mayan city, as mentioned before, along the Usumacinta River in the southern state of Chiapas. Remember the map at the beginning of the show. It borders Guatemala. However, this city is so special that it cannot be accessed by roads. Thank you.
The next stop on our journey through ancient Mesoamerica is in Mexico City, Mexico. This was dominated at the time by the Mexico culture, also known as the Aztecs. As we study the Aztecs, let's take a closer look at Mesoamerican sculptural and 2D art. Many sculptures of the Aztec culture were reliefs of glorified rulers, figural, and anthropomorphic. They were also cosmic reliefs. Rulers were often the patrons of the types of art. An example of the traditional Aztec sculptural and 2D relief is the Coyojaqui stone. It is made of volcanic stone and it is from the years 1375 to 1520 CE. Note the anthropomorphic figure in the center and the geometric shapes all around the piece. Another example of traditional Aztec 2D relief is the calendar stone from the Temple Mayor. It is made of basalt and it is from the years 1375 to 1520 CE. The calendar stone serves as a similarity between all the ancient Mesoamerican cultures. Note the circle shape of the piece creates a sense of symmetry, and the geometric shape around the piece is a hallmark of the time. Also note the face figure in the center. The last piece of Aztec art that we will be discussing is the ruler's feather headdress. The ruler that it was worn by was probably Montezuma II. It was made of feathers and gold. The headdress is believed to be from the years 1428 to 1520 CE. Note the use of the color green, which, as mentioned previously, is a staple of Mesoamerican cultures. This type of headdress was a status symbol and would have only been worn by the highest rulers. Take note of the extreme detail in the beading and the symmetry of the entire piece.
Welcome back! We're ready to continue our journey on this special report exploring Mesoamerica. The next culture that we are going to study is the Olmec culture. We are now traveling from Mexico City all the way over to the Gulf Coast, specifically near Cancun. The Olmec culture was prominent during the first millennium BCE. One example of Olmec art that we are going to focus on is the Olmec style mask. It is made of jadeite and it is again from the years 1375 to 1520 CE. When examining this mask, notice the symmetrical qualities of the face as a whole. However, there are very few defining figures. The face is very generic. Furthermore, when examining the mask, pay close attention to the eyes. There are no pupils, and they are very much slits, rather than wide open. Finally, look at the mouth. Notice how there are 3 front teeth depicted as well. Again, this mask is another traditional symbol of Mesoamerican art.
We're going to take a quick commercial break and we will be right back with your news.
AP Art History News, the special report on Mesoamerica. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Shay.
We want to give you a few reminders before we go. The Mesoamerican cultures consisted of the Olmec, the Mayan, and the Aztec, or Mexica cultures. They all existed in various parts of Mexico, and they had several hallmarks that marked these cultures. In Mesoamerica, things that you'll remember throughout the presentation include calendars, sculptures that are reliefs, the use of the color green, temple-like structures that evolved and were pyramidal in the shape of mountains. But before we go, we have a little bit of interesting information for you. The Mesoamerican cultures had some other great cultural developments. Shay, take it away.
Some of the foods that were prominent in the ancient Mesoamerican cultures were chocolate, vanilla, tomatoes, and avocados.
Boy, did they like to eat. Furthermore, they were responsible for use of rubber, and they created the first ball game. Finally, these three societies were matriarchal, meaning that they promoted women's power.
Isn't that exciting?
That's all for our show today. Have a great one. Adios!